the message is more important than the production. The message is so much more important than the production. What if I just acted as if the message was the most important thing? I'm officially the pastor of the Fourth Church of the Holy Goldfish. It's a joke that keeps on giving, but it really is about taking responsibility for your own spiritual journey. And I thought, I'll just admit to what it is. It's going to be a raggedy podcast, and I'm not going to probably do production and a whole lot of editing. And so there'll be background noise and technical difficulties. But at the core of what my work is about is how do we connect with our heart and with our passions and do the healing work so that we can live differently in a way that feels loving and life embracing. And that's important to me. And that's something I'm passionate about. Like many things that have started in my life, I decided to do a thing called the Holy Goldfish Commentary. It will be a Raggedy Podcast Production. I hope you'll come along the journey. Who knows where it'll take me?
Sure, the Village Builder Retreat I'm excited about it. And we've talked about this, myself and my partner, and we haven't done a good job of sharing the word. We've done our best job, but it has not helped us share the why. Like, what is this program really about? And it's a couple of basics. One is if we're going to fix community, we got to fix people. People have to be fixed. People have to be transformed. People have to let go of values and behaviors that don't work in society. Like, look around. And these tools are a part of how we help people have the tools and understanding of how to do that in their own lives. So the healing part is like where we start. Like, if we're going to build community, let's start with the basics. And that's our foundation. But then the second piece is if you start moving into a value-based life, where you look at your values and your priorities, like I talk so often about, like, you are your responsibility. Other people may volunteer to be responsible for you or take part in that responsibility. You may have a partner who says, I volunteer to be concerned about you, and what happens to you and be a part of your life in, some very specific ways. But that's a voluntary role. Okay, make somebody take care of you. As an adult, you're responsible for that. And so if that is the values and you're committing to living a sustainable value-based life, which we highly support, then do you have the basics to take care of you? Like, for real, let's talk logical now. Let's not talk emotional. And it's like, you need a roof over your head and food on the table and water. And doggone it, if you got some power to be able to do those things, it's a little more comfortable. And if you can afford to do that, then, man, like, are those the basics for life? As long as you agree with that, if you don't know how to do that, then you are dependent on someone else. Someone's in control of you, literally. If you don't know how to make sure you have clean water and you've determined that clean water is necessary for your survival and you don't know how to do it, you're trusting lots of different people. For me, I'm trusting Splendor by Health2O. They're volcanic artisanal water that's sold here, and they make it with gas, so it's like bubbly water. That's my secret fix for get enough water in. And there'll be people that say, the carbonization is bad. This is my best. But I entrust that responsibility to Splendor And I entrust that responsibility to the municipality in my area, because I use the tap water in Cuenca. We're one of the cities that has award-winning water purification processes. And so a lot of places in South America, you can't drink the water, but I trust or put my trust in those people to do a good job of that. But I understand if something happens in their system and I drink that water, assuming that they've done their job, I'm still responsible. And so when we realize that from a sustainable value point, we're just using the values to guide us. I am responsible for myself. I absolutely need water to be able to live. I want to live. My goal is to live. My aim, my objective is to live all of my days out feeling pretty good. I'd like to feel good on the days that I have to live. I don't want to just be alive. I want to be alive and it feels good. And part of that's health and those kind of things. But water is an absolute. I need that. And so we start talking about helping people transition to a sustainable, value-based life. Lose the ego stuff. Heal it. Don't just pretend. Don't just fake it. The very first thing that comes up next is, well then, in the basics of your life, are you doing that work of taking care of yourself? Do you know how? Like seriously, do you know how to take care of yourself? Do you know how to erect some sort of shelter? Worst case scenario in your life, worst case, if life just went belly up for you, could you at least provide for yourself in some ways? Because if not, then you got to be scared. There's some fear that's going to create pockets in your life. When if they put a recall out in your city and say, don't drink this kind of water, don't use the tap water, don't drink this particular brand's water. If you don't have methods in place that are making sure that the water you have is pure, and you don't know how to do that yourself, someone is going to have a place of position over you, because if you value being alive and you've got to have the water, what price can they put on it? Whatever you're willing to pay, but there's some things that you're going to pay whatever they ask for if you want to live. Let's just be real. This is logical. This is not emotional. Put emotions in, so it's not trying to encourage fear and those kind of things. We're just talking logical. And then it's like, okay, what else? The elements. Wherever you live, the elements. Even here, where it's 70 to 75 degrees every day. I love it. But the sun is brutal. We're real close to the sun. Closer than a whole lot of people in the world. I'm at 8,000 feet. Not as high as you go, but this is pretty high. And it's right on the equator. So when that sun lines up, boy, it's not brutal, but it's intense. It's put an umbrella up kind of intensity. Is it hot? No, I mean, it's not hot, but it's bright. The UV indicators are some things you hear people talking about. Oh, the UV levels were high today. People of fairer skin have to be real concerned, because the visible impacts of that happen a whole lot faster than for me with darker skin. But can you protect yourself from the elements? Do you know how to? Where do I start? Well, doggone it, we help you. Have some answers to that in real time. Like, oh wait, I know how to do that with my hands. And maybe with my community. Let me get 3 or 4 or at least one other pair of hands. And do I now know a solution for that? Some of you do. Some of you absolutely not. Never did scouts of any kind through your church or through the community, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, whatever. You never did Pathfinders or whatever it's called in other denominations. That's what it was called in the denomination that I grew up in. Do you know how to put a tent up? Like basics. Or one of those pop-up shelters. Could you take a tarp and a piece of rope and make you a shelter? Like Do you have the thinking process to be able to do that? But protection from the elements is what every one of us needs. Every one of us, housed or unhoused, you need it. If you're unhoused, you understand the need a whole lot better than someone who's been housed comfortably, where we just take it for granted. And in getting that clean water and in feeding yourself hunger, do you know how to make a fire? It's one way you can begin working on purifying some water for sure, boiling it. But you also need to make a fire for things like heat, sterilization, the cooking. If you don't know how to do those basics, but you need that to live, and you trust someone else to do it, then you're putting your life in someone else's hands. And sometimes those hands are not people who have your best interests at heart. Look at our food system. Those people do not have your best interests at heart. It helps you. Yes, you got to have food. Through the traditional food chains even. You go to the grocery store and get what you need. Sometimes that's the reality. But understand the risk that you take. These people have not sat down and said, we want these people to be healthy as they can possibly be. That's not the conversation that they've had in many of our food systems. It's what's our bottom line, because that's business. That's why we have to change the people that say we don't want to do business that way. But that's a whole nother rabbit trail. Get back to the Village Builder Retreat. You get the point. I don't need to go through every single step, but we pull from my friend Vinay Gupta's work on crisis management, systems-based solutions for how we deal with crisis. And I realize it fits into the convertible community concept, because if you're going to live a sustainably value-based life, taking care of you is your responsibility. You probably should know how to do that thing of taking care of yourself at a basic level. Basic. If all of life went belly up on a basic level, could you be okay with taking care of yourself? Because if you can say, I can take care of myself come hell or high water, that's what the old people in my generation when I was growing up used to say, come hell or high water. That means if it's flooding or hell comes, you still gonna make it to this church service. That's usually what it's wrapped around. Come hell or high water. Or maybe it was if those come, then I'm not gonna come. But I think it was kind of like the mailman, neither rain nor shine nor whatever is going to keep me from this. But if you know how to take care of yourself, all of life can happen to you. But what's the worst case scenario? Worst case scenario is I start over. No matter what crisis happens in your life, if you know how to take care of yourself, and I'm talking physically, you will always, from that moment forward in your mind, know that if all things go sideways, I can take care of myself. There's a certain level of fear that you will not have, come hell or high water. There's a fear that you will have addressed with your own hands. Does it make it better if you have other stuff? It makes it better if you know what kind of wild food hidden in plain sight can be eaten. Those edible weeds. Go find some of those videos on edible weeds. It's gotten popular. It used to be you'd have to search for that information, have books and guidebooks, and you'd have to be searching out leaf patterns and what. Now you just go on YouTube. Eat the Greens. He's been on for years with videos, plant by plant. Which ones can you eat? Which ones are medicine? Which ones should you not eat? Unless you're using them in warfare of some kind. And then they could create problems for anyone that ate those things. When you know the basics, that I can take care of myself at a basic level, you've built a resiliency into your life. You've addressed a fear that a lot of people have. A lot of people are doing lots of things to be able to have the things in life that are basics, roof over your head. The expectation of what that roof over your head needs to be. It's nice to have all the extras in life. But at worst case scenario, if I know I can survive and rebuild. And part of that is about knowing how to be in relationship with each other. Because doing it by yourself is hard. It's possible, but it's harder. You do that the first week. But the second week is, can you do it for real? Like, that's it. Sustainable value-based living. If you're going to choose a sustainable value-based living framework for your life, start with the basics. Can you take care of yourself? And we teach that 2 weeks in a really cool place. Now, why is that important to us? Because we are not responsible for making sure you have the basics of life. We want to be. We volunteer to be responsible for this part of knowledge that can be shared to some. This ain't a solution for all. Everybody's not coming down to Ecuador to do this retreat. But it's a solution for some. And we believe it's goodwill to help people do things that are in this direction of sustainability. We cannot do it for free. It costs money and time and energy. And the reality is, if we put that energy investing in you, we need you to invest in us. Pay the money. Part of why this scholarship is exciting is that this is funding that helps us do other projects. With a sitting pool of scholarship money, we get to tap into that also. You, as the participant, the portion that you pay is helping us as well, because that's where this money goes. We have to create money to be able to do these projects. Otherwise, it becomes unsustainable for our lives, and that's real. We can't fund these projects all by ourselves. But the other part comes from the scholarship funds. And right now, if we just use this scholarship fund and tapped into it, we'd be able to probably complete the 2 structures that are the phase 1 of the Rancho Community Development Plan. Which part of it comes from the individuals that come and get trained, but we feel that training is a fair exchange, if not more. We've priced it as affordably as we can and still have it be sustainable for our lives personally. But the other part of the scholarship funds is the other portion of funding that we would like to have to move these projects along further. And so we think we've created a win-win-win situation for everybody that comes to this table, that individuals are getting help with making that transition in their life. The training gives them the option of moving to a sustainable value-based way of thinking and living. And as a matter of fact, it heals. It's healing tools. Tools say if you heal in this way, it gives you all these extra benefits: conflict resolution, learning how to work together, how to be together in community and have that feel good. Because we in community now, it just doesn't feel good. You get the information that you need. You get the practical experience so that at least at a basic, you can do the very first thing you're responsible for, and that's take care of yourself. So that you can pour into other people in the ways that your life seems appropriate. The way that fits with who you are and what you bring to the world table. And it's a win for us because that funding helps us to do more in the time that we have to give our goodness to the world. And so, if you want to help us share this message, you get in on this too. You get in on this goodness by sharing our post, by telling someone about this, by thinking about the things that we've said to see if this is something that fits into your value system, or if it's something you want to put into your value system. You know, we're building community. It takes community to build community. We're building a very specific community of people who want to do this work together. business-minded people, entrepreneurs, healers, investors, technical people, social marketing people. What if we built a community of those people? We could jam session all day long in the way that we give our music to the world. And there's usually an actual soundtrack playing for most of the things that we do. And menu playing because we like to eat. But help us share the word. We're building a greater community of people who understand that change is imperative. And who either believe or think, even suspect, that if we got better, the world gets better. If I become more healed, more able to tap into the loving spirit that's in me, the passions, that's love. The honesty, that's love. So we got a scholarship fund to help individuals come and participate in the Village Builder Retreat. You gotta have a passport. You gotta be able to afford to pay the portion of it that's the participant cost. You gotta be able to afford a round trip airline ticket to Guayaquil, Ecuador. You gotta have one other person that wants to be a part of your healing support team for life. Like this is your person. And you guys come down, book the weeks. You have to have at least 4 people booked at the same time. It's too much energy to do for just one pair of people. Need your hands. We're teaching you stuff that, makes it easier when you're doing it with a group of people. And 4 plus the instructors gives us a nice cohort to be able to do this with. And we just decided we're not going to do it with only one pair booked on a date. So you got to coordinate. We can do up to 8 at a time. It's a nice sized group for us to work with here in the facilities. But we have funding so that we could do 12 teams of people. Each date, we can do up to 4 teams. The funding that supplements this, each team can apply for up to $5,500 to offset their cost. I think it leaves participants with about $1,500 of the cost for them to pay. For the 2 weeks, that's all inclusive, except for your shopping money. And we suggest you bring money for chocolate and hats if those are your things. The Turquia straw hats that people think of as Panama hats and the world-class chocolate all come from right here in this region. So we suggest you have a little bit of that too, but we want to use this funding. The funding is available for bookings through October 31st. Your dates don't have to be before October 31st. We got clarity, but your payments have to be in before October 31st in full for the scholarship funds to be able to kick in. So you got to book your retreat and have it paid for by October 31st of this year. We think it's a good thing. We think it's important. We think it's valuable. I've given you the reasons why, at least some of them. If you need more, reach out. We'll have that conversation of the ways that we think this is valuable to individuals. But we have an opportunity to have a win-win-win situation that helps us do more of what we're going to do anyway. It helps us do more and it helps us do it faster. And so we'd like for you to help us share our Village Builder retreats and help us get the word to those that this is a relevant solution. Thanks much. Live life fully today.